I rise for a few comments, and then I will ask some questions for the proponent of the bill.
Please proceed, sir.
Thank you very much, Madam President. First, I'd like to thank the chairs for the bipartisan way in which we conducted the conversations that led to this bill. I've been doing energy conversation a long time, and it is not a partisan issue. It is a bipartisan issue that affects everybody here in the state of Connecticut. And I'd like to just start a little bit and go back, Madam President, if I may, what brought us to this point here in this special session today, and why we're talking about energy today and what we need to do, I believe, in the future. The rate increase that was approved by PURA for July 1 and the transmission costs by Eversource struck a nerve in the population here in the state of Connecticut as it impacted every ratepayer significantly. Combining with the fact that people were home, working, using more power, generating more electricity, it was even more hurtful to the average ratepayer in terms of the increase in the bill. Immediately upon that being brought to light, the storm hit, and it was the failure of the management, specifically at Eversource, I believe, to respond to that storm's restoration and move forward that led the Energy Committee and others to call for a change in how we do business here in the state of Connecticut. Now, let me just say at the outset that this is not a criticism of the linemen and women who work so hard under difficult conditions to restore power and to keep power running each and every day here in the state of Connecticut. This is about a management issue that we believe can be fixed, and we are beginning the conversation today or yesterday about how we move forward in a new way. How do we move forward? How do utilities move forward in a new way that creates a better output and a better situation for all of the ratepayers here in the state of Connecticut? Energy is complicated, and one bill is not going to do it. And I propose that whoever is here on that committee in the January session coming up in just a few short months will need to take a look at a variety of situations. We're going to need to take a look at how energy is generated in this state, how energy is transmitted in this state, how are renewables going to be affordable and available to take the next generation of energy generation. What about battery storage? Where does that play? How is that affordable and practical and applicable, and how can we promote that technology here in the state of Connecticut? What about our base load? Are we going to shift away from fossil fuel and nuclear? What are we going to do? What is the plan for the next 10 years? Energy efficiency. How are we going to bring mindful energy efficiency to everyone in the state so that everyone can benefit by using less or using it more effectively in terms of energy? Transparency on electric bills. There's so many hidden conversations and cost within each one of those line items. I think this is something we have to talk about. Wholesale markets, how do they affect the average person on the street, the ratepayer? And what is the next step in that? And then finally, I think regional conversations. And when I say regional conversations, I mean multi-state conversations that we can work together to try to move energy into the next generation. I believe this bill starts that conversation. There are some punitive methods in this bill to do that, to get the attention of some of the utilities, but we think that there are opportunities throughout the bill for all of the utilities to be able to adhere to this, to develop good new management practices, develop better communication and collaboration with the cities and towns, so that we can restore our power when it goes down, because we all know storms are going to happen, and we all know trees are getting taller, and we all know that we will run out of power once again. But, Madam President, I can say that I go back to 2010 or 11 as a first selectman during those two major hurricanes, and I experienced a lot of the same problems that we're having in 2017 when there was a storm, and then a couple of years ago when there was a storm, and then certainly a few weeks ago. Those problems seem to be the same, and it's time to change. It's time for the utilities to take it to the next level and treat the ratepayers with the respect that they deserve. So with that, Madam President, I just have a few questions for clarification for the proponent of the bill.
Please proceed.
Thank you, Madam President. Good afternoon, Senator Needleman.
Good afternoon, Senator Formica.
One of the complaints that we heard, and I just alluded to going back to my time as first selectman, was communication and performance-based metrics that will be developed. I just want to make sure that communication and collaboration with cities and towns is going to be high on the list in terms of performance rate making, in terms of the performance metrics that are going to be implemented.
Senator Needleman.
Through you, Madam President, that is absolutely one of the critical components of performance-based rate making that we're looking for. Like you, I was a first selectman in 2011 through those storms and through subsequent storms, and I will tell you that categorically it appears that they got worse, not better, not only with the ratepayers, but with first selectmen, town managers, and mayors, and that made this situation so much worse. So it is absolutely part of what we're asking PURA to do.
Senator Formica.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Senator, for that answer. I appreciate it. Now, PURA is going to develop the metrics and standards by which this new performance-based rate making will be implemented. Are there other states that use this type of method, or will this be unique to the state of Connecticut? Through you, Madam President.
Senator Needleman.
Yeah, through you, Madam President, I believe that Hawaii does. I believe Massachusetts is looking at it, as well as several other states now. And this is one of the areas where I think that Connecticut can really lead the way. So although there are other people looking at it, I think we're putting concrete steps into place. I believe that PURA has been talking about and initiating a docket on this, but we're sort of mandating that they do this now to make sure that the picture is not just one thing upon which they're judged. We want them to be judged on an array of things that will improve customer outcomes across the state, and I think this is a perfect way to do it.
Senator Formica.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Senator. Does that, well, let me back up. We are in the middle of a number of dockets that PURA has opened. One, the rate increase of July. We put a letter together along with the leaders of the General Assembly and the leaders of the Energy Committee asking for PURA to suspend that rate increase, which they did. They've opened a docket that in simple terms means they're investigating what are the reasons behind that rate increase. And they're also investigating a number of other things in terms of, I believe another docket is opened up for restoration response. So this legislation would provide them yet another opportunity to open up performance-based. They probably will put all of these together at some point and say, you know, we can't do all these in separate lanes. We'll probably kind of bridge them together and then come out with one product. But it should take a few months at least, I would guess, through you, Madam President.
Senator Needleman.
Through you, Madam President, I believe it will take several months for them to do that and to take a comprehensive look both at the storm response as well as the rates, and we're requesting that they look at reducing the rates in addition to just freezing them and roll back the increases. I believe that there's opportunity for PURA to work on reducing those rates, and that is essential now given people's circumstances. So many people are struggling, and in the middle of the pandemic in July, as you said, people got what appear to be quite exorbitant rate increases, and we're not sure that they were calculated correctly. So we want PURA to look at that, not only freeze it or roll it back to where it was, but roll it back maybe even more if that's possible.
Senator Formica.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Senator. In some of the later sections of the bill, sections 9, 10, and 11, we talk about some punitive measures that would be held against the utilities for failure to respond appropriately and to failure to respond to some of these metrics that PURA will be developing. The increase to 2.5% to 4% is one. The $25 per day bill credit for 96 hours if you're out of power, and also up to $250 in food spoilage. Said that backwards. We know that not all storms are created equal, and 96 hours is a reasonable start, but there's a waiver in this legislation that allows further discussion should there be a Category 5 hurricane and things, you know, are more in terms of rebuilding instead of restoring. And can you speak to that just for a moment, if you will, through you, Madam President?
Senator Nadelman.
Yeah, through you, Madam President. We deliberately put the waiver in there so that PURA would have the opportunity to review the circumstances under which the 96 hours would apply and whether the penalties would or wouldn't apply. I want to say, to just get intent very clearly on the books here, I have believed in my almost 9 years now of being a first selectman in my 5th term and 8 years as a selectman before that, that they can certainly do better than they've done, not only in terms of the pure calculation of outages, but also in terms of communication and other areas that I think that they've been weak. And I have not been shy about telling them how to run their business. And I'm sure, I remember some of the calls in 2011 where you were not shy either. So the intent here is never to be punitive for the sake of being punitive. The intent is to put penalties in place similar to a speeding ticket, that if you don't do what's right, you may get a slap on the wrist and a warning, and if for some reason the person next to you is having a heart attack, you can drive faster and the cop won't pull you over. But here, we want them to improve. I think that the message is loud and clear. We want them to improve across many metrics. And you're absolutely right. Not all storms are created equal, and not 96 hours is a target, but it's not an absolute. It's never meant to be an absolute, and that's why we work together to put the waiver clause in there. Through you, Madam President.
Senator Formica.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Senator. With regard to some of the things that we know we have to do, and we've had plenty of conversations about moving infrastructure underground, those are conversations we're going to have and begin to start, because it's going to take decades for that to be affected. Microgrids, which are small individual power sources within communities that can be brought up to speed a little faster. We address that situation here in this bill. And then ISO New England, which is the wholesale manager, I guess, of power and as it's distributed through New England. There's a clause in here that talks about the Commissioner of DEEP putting together a study to evaluate the wholesale market. So I believe this to be comprehensive legislation and begin the conversation that certainly we can't have here today, but we can start it here today. And we can have these conversations with the Energy Committee in conjunction with DEEP, in conjunction with ISO, in conjunction with our neighboring states as we move into the next session. And hopefully this will be an opportunity to bring rates down or at least keep them stable as we move into the next generation of energy generation. So I just want to thank you for the opportunity to put this bill together in a bipartisan manner. And Madam President, I would urge my colleagues to support this legislation today and the governor to sign it, and that we can begin to move forward and really take it as a base for improving the energy situation here in the state of Connecticut. Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Senator.
Thank you. Senator, will you remark further